Hey everyone, slight change of scenery today. I'm actually living currently in Castle Leazes, running the student accommodations at Newcastle University. I'm working the summer school this week. It's basically a project the university runs that gets a bunch of school children to come and stay at uni for a week, and they get to experience kind of what it's about and helps them decide if they want to come to uni and if they want to come here. So that's quite a weird room to stay in. It's very prison-like. It's quite it's very much a box room with a sink, beds. Not very big. The place that I stayed in when I was a first year was Park Terrace at Newcastle University, which was a much bigger, spacious room with an ensuite. But I mean, in some regards, it's a perfect studio to film a vlog in. I'm currently the only person living in this corridor, and before children come tomorrow, so it's quiet. I'm not disturbed by people wandering about. Don't worry about any of my flatmates hearing me talk and wondering what's this weirdo doing talking to himself in the room. So it's sort of conducive to that. But anywho, I went to see Jurassic World 2. I saw it as actually part of the last summer school a couple of weeks ago, so I got paid to go see it, which is kind of fun. And these are my immediate thoughts on Jurassic World: The Lost Kingdom? Fallen Kingdom? Something? So before I speak about Jurassic World: The Lost Fallen Kingdom, or even the first Jurassic World film, I should probably talk about Jurassic Park films because it's a franchise and you can't really talk about the others without talking about the first set of films. I first saw Jurassic Park as a young child with my cousins, and I was immediately hooked by the film. Why wouldn't I be? It was a dino film, and I was a child going through my dino phase that every child, I'm pretty sure, goes through a dino phase because children love dinosaurs. And the magic of Jurassic Park is still felt by me today, about a dozen years later. The more I learn about filmmaking, the more I taught myself about the nuances of directorial style and the effort and skill that goes into creating each part of the film, the more I learn to appreciate Jurassic Park, and I still go back and watch it every now and then. And even the two relatively misaligned sequels, The Lost World, which has as many plot holes in it as this guy does, and Jurassic Park 3 with its Alan scene, I still enjoy them, but I mean, compared to the original film was just pure magic. For one, the visuals. Whenever I talk to someone about CGI in films, there's always two examples I go back to that I regard as the perfect examples of CGI, both done well and having aged amazingly since the first release. One of it is Lord of the Rings. The use of Gollum and the use of all the CGI background characters, even today, holds up amazingly. And then obviously Jurassic Park is a phenomenal use of CGI. I went to see Jurassic Park as a re-release about 6 or so years ago. I think it was Jurassic Park 3D re-release. So it was the first time I'd seen a film on a big screen. Hitherto I'd only ever seen it on a TV. And the scene where the T-Rex first appears, I was blown away. I'd seen that scene loads of times, but on a big screen in, 2012, 2013, about 20 years after it first come out. And it still was as thrilling as I imagined it was 20 years ago. And that is, for CGI, 20 years is a long time. The second the T-Rex appeared on the screen for the first time when I watched the re-release, my breath was taken away the exact same way my breath was taken away when I first saw that T-Rex. In fact, if anything, my breath was taken away more the time I saw it on the big screen than all the times I've seen it before, just because of how well it stands up. The other thing that perhaps makes the original films vastly superior to the new films, which I'll go and talk about a bit later, is just how immersive they are, which for a thriller, for something that has to thrill and scare and make your heart go fast, you need to feel immersed, you need to feel the danger. People like to joke about the Linux scene where we see the computers with the building graphics and stuff.
It's a Unix system.
Which, to be fair, is actually a real GUI. People don't realise that it's actually a real Linux GUI. Perhaps not a very commonly used one, but a real GUI nonetheless. All the 90s tech prevailed in a film, which for a film that focuses a lot on technology, 90s tech is quite at the forefront of the set design. Does make you feel grounded. I wasn't born when a film came out, but I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the technological advances of the 90s, which is probably why I'm a computer scientist now. And seeing all the 90s tech makes me feel like I'm living in a real world. This is important. Remember this about how much the 90s tech helped me feel immersed in the film, and we'll compare that to what we're going to talk about a bit later on. And then with the characters. I never realised this when I watched the films as a child, but it wasn't just dinosaurs that enthralled me, it was the characters as well. It was how the characters reacted to everything that was going around them. I was watching this video by Lessons from a Screenplay the other day, and it just showed me another way to appreciate the film I hadn't realised before. The script and the message and the themes behind the film are clear but they're not forced, and allow for a brilliant second viewing with this in mind. So I would urge you to go watch Lessons from a Screenplay's video on Jurassic Park and what makes it so amazing. And as Guy explains, each of the characters in the film have a role to play. None of them are throwaway props. They all have their own perspective and take on the theme of the film, and you connect with each of them, you connect with their fates, and you become invested in what happens to each of these characters. And I realised I wasn't just amazed by the dinosaurs running amok, I was enthralled because the characters were enthralled, because they were fighting for their lives, and I felt I was fighting for my life with them, because it was just so easy to connect with them. So hopefully, having made clear how much I love and adore the original Jurassic Park film, now let's address Jurassic World 2. The second I finished watching the very first Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer, I predicted the film would be about 70% the exact same plot of the Lost World Jurassic Park, the second original Jurassic Park film. I was right, I predicted correctly there. Just take a listen to this. Protagonist from previous film tricked to go save the dinosaurs for conservation purposes, but defeated by capitalist businessmen, chaos ensues. Was I describing the Lost World Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? Both! I mean, even both of their titles sound similar, which is why I keep getting confused and keep calling the second Jurassic World movie Jurassic World The Lost Kingdom. It took within the first 2 minutes of the film for me to start regretting mine and everyone else's life choices. I do have to ask myself, why do dinosaurs fleeing from an erupting volcano feel the need to stop and attack other living things? Like, there's a giant explosion happening behind me, but me, a mere plot device, am compelled by the plot to stop and attack this glass ball full of humans, even though my life is immediately threatened, and any rational animal, driven by instinct, would be caring more about fleeing giant erupting noise, not hunting for food. I will say this, the acting in the film is very good. Pratt does a very good job of looking convincingly terrified. And you know who else actually does a very good job of looking convincingly terrified? Isabel Sermon, who plays the young girl in the film. Looking convincingly terrified is a hard thing to do, and for a young child actress to pull that off and actually do it very well is amazing, so full props to her for that. Though, speaking of her character, the plot twist about her being a clone of her mother literally came out of nowhere. There was no reason for the villain to be like, by the way, this girl, she's a clone. The villain literally stopped what he was doing to be like, by the way, I have to now exposition about this plot device, which actually has very little payoff in the film. I mean, I guess the payoff was later on, she releases the dinosaurs because they are also clones, and she's like, I'm a clone, and they're clones, and I'm alive, and they're alive, and therefore I feel I must free them because they are like me. But you're not alive because of them, you are alive in spite of them. They've spent the entire film trying to kill you. It's a weird thing to sort of sympathize on your mutual living when they would not share the same courtesy towards you. But no, go ahead, release these evil, apparently genetically engineered to be very aggressive and pro-killing human beings into the middle of the United States. That won't have any bearing or negative repercussions or loss of life whatsoever. Good job. Speaking of acting, Toby Jones looked like he was having fun, and I was having fun with him. Him doing his very slimy American accent was just hilarious to listen to, and I mean, it was good. It wasn't campy, and he was having fun. I was having fun. I love Toby Jones. Toby Jones should be there. It should be everything as far as I care. I mean, insofar as the film has a theme, I guess the theme is, do dinosaurs have a right to live in our world? I haven't even finished what I was going to say, and I've started laughing at because that's a stupid premise for a serious film. And at no point during the film was my answer to that question ever anything other than no. These dinosaurs do not have a right to live in the world. Certainly not after the events of the last 4 films. And I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's because I don't connect to the world, the world in which Jurassic Park takes place in. Or at least, no, sorry, actually correct. I don't connect with the world that Jurassic World takes in. And this is because it's not immersive. Remember how I was talking earlier about how Jurassic World doesn't feel as immersive? I can't see myself living in that world because that world has glass balls on wheels, holograms, those Star Trek touchscreens that we see in the new Star Trek films and the new Star Trek series. The previous film had really futuristic looks, and that's the thing, because Jurassic World looks so futuristic, I didn't feel immersed or scared when the dinosaurs went loose, because that didn't feel like a thing that could happen. The scariest scene, often cited as like the pinnacle and moment of the original Jurassic Park film, when it's used often when people show clips of Jurassic Park, is either the T-Rex scene or the raptors in the kitchen scene. And the raptors in the kitchen scene is a terrifying scene. I mean, I can watch it fine now because I know what happens, but Jesus Christ, when I watched it for the first time, I was scared, because there could nothing be a more mundane, harmless environment than the kitchen of a theme park. A kitchen, just a normal restaurant kitchen. And because it was so mundane and normal, a place you would easily find yourself in any situation, the fact that there are now terrifying raptors in there, and it's a less claustrophobic, but completely normal place to be in, that was what made it immersive and scary. Compare that to the futuristic setting of a theme park, props to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, setting it in an old house, and I think the director's intent was to sort of frame it as kind of a ghost film with the Indoraptor being the ghost, but not actually a ghost, it's a dinosaur. It did feel suitably claustrophobic, but I was still too distant from the world to actually feel scared or thrilled as much as I did in the original. At no point did I feel sympathy for the dinosaurs, and I mean, I completely agree, as normal, with Jeff Goldblum, because he is our guiding force and our words of wisdom. And by the way, Jeff Goldblum in the film is one of the film's saving graces. He's in there for 2 very short scenes, but he made it all worth it, because Jeff Goldblum is like the love of my life now. But just from an ecology point of view, and full disclaimer, I'm not an ecologist, but I did do GCSE biology, and I think that qualifies me enough to discuss what I'm about to discuss. Introducing animals to an environment they're not part of has bad effects. Just ask any Australian about all of the ecological crap that happened to their country when people introduced animals to it, and how much that was a bad idea, and they're still trying to deal with it now. Like, I suppose the inspiration for the end of the film was Grant's line from the original Jurassic Park film, when he was like,
"Dinosaurs and man, 2 species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect?"
And also, there's one of each species? I mean, sure, life finds a way, yada yada, but I'm pretty sure each dinosaur is only going to be a problem for us however long that dinosaur will live, and then it won't, because they won't reproduce. Also, they're released in America, and that's like the most trigger-happy place on Earth. People will go out hunting and shooting these things. I don't really give much for their chances of survival, with the possible exception of the Mosasaurus, because it lives in water. And to be fair, this might be because I'm a massive aquaphobe, and I fear deep water and the things which live inside it, and the ocean is a terrifying place. So that shot at the end where we see the Mosasaurus as the wave comes up and it's about to swallow a surfer was actually quite scary, but that's just probably my own personal demons. But usual animal control policy is if there's a wild animal that's endangering human life, you shoot it. That's the general policy with animal control, I think universally. These dinosaurs, I don't think we have to worry about them very long. I guess the theme about having to deal with dinosaurs in our world is meant to be an allegory about new, dangerous technology. I mean, the whole Jurassic Park franchise isn't just a dinosaur film. It's actually a social commentary on technological advancements. That's the theme of Jurassic Park. It's about whether or not science should be done for science's sake, or whether we should have boundaries about where science shouldn't go because it can backfire and actually be more damaging. That's the theme of Jurassic Park as an entire franchise. And the first film was obviously setting the groundwork for the question of, just because you can.
They didn't stop to think if they should.
And the way Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom pushes this is, well, consider this. When we first introduced the internet, nobody at that time in history had any sort of perception of how prevalent and how much it would change our entire lifestyle today. Because our lifestyle has completely changed by the internet. We are driven by social media, we are driven by a prevalence of media of conflicting and variety, and every single opinion under the sun is now getting equal or near equal voice and platforms. No one's lacking ability to get their voice heard because of the internet. That's changed society. Like, this isn't going to be a video on the philosophy of the internet, but it has changed society. But you don't know that when people first invented the internet, when it was a combination of technology and different forms of communication, all built into one, when the World Wide Web was invented, we didn't think it was going to be what it is today, but it is, and we as a society are still trying to catch up with that. Our laws haven't caught up to what the internet has given us. Our copyright laws haven't reflected how prevalent it is to copy and share media, and some various other laws haven't caught up to the internet. So in the same regard, dinosaurs have now been created in Jurassic Park world. Humanity now has to catch up and work out how to deal with that. That's what the sort of theme of the film is. Credit due, it does ask and pose that theme. Interesting enough, only sort of potently in the Jeff Goldblum scenes, because who else would you trust with asking the big philosophical questions other than Jeff Goldblum? But like I've said, that whole question is sort of diminished by the fact that dinosaurs in our world wouldn't actually live that long and be fairly easy to kill. Anyway, that's kind of my ramble, my initial immediate thoughts seeing the Jurassic World movie. As a film, I was as disappointed as I was when I watched the first Jurassic World film. It was a complete letdown, both from the original trilogy and of course the first film. I don't think we'll ever get anywhere near the masterpiece that was Steven Spielberg's original Jurassic Park film. So its own thing. I mean, it's entertaining, and Chris Pratt was fun to watch. Toby Jones was hilarious to watch. Isabel did a fantastic job playing the girl. I applaud it for at least trying to ask and further the thematic analysis of society and technology, even if it didn't do a fantastic job of it. But yeah, thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you guys next time. I do have to ask myself, why did dinosaurs fleeing from an exploding? That's a word we're going to go with today. Exploding. Use it in your creative writing, even if it's not a real world.